Hello, good morning. This is Kenny Tan of CenterMac Realty. Welcome to the Real Biz Academy's weekly sales training, aka CenterMac Weekly Sales Training. Today we have live streams to both YouTube and Facebook and also Twitch. There are some audience already, as I can see. Thank you for participating. There are four topics that I'll be covering today. First topic of the day, I'm going to be talking about alt text. Well, if you're like me, you never heard of alt text before. It's about time we learn about alt text. All right, okay. All right, Veronica, good morning. Now, if you're watching my YouTube and you wanted me to know that you are watching it, feel free to go to the chat room and send me a message. That way, I know you're here. All right, thank you and welcome. So let's continue with alt text. Alt text is actually something that is used to allow people who have vision problem, who are vision impaired, who really can't see very well, who really can't read what's on the screen. But these people, they want to participate in social media. So alt text was created to give them the opportunity to enjoy social media like you and I can. Okay. Now we may never know. I mean, one of these days we could be vision impaired ourselves. Well, then we would certainly appreciate having alt text as part of the posts that people put on the Facebook website and Instagram. Okay, maybe LinkedIn. Certainly, I think it is also important to know what alt text is because alt text actually will improve on your SEO. In case you're not familiar with SEO, that's a search engine optimization. Alt text will supply the metadata that you need for the SEO. So it is not uncommon for people to use alt text. If you are like me, you're behind the curve already. I only started to learn about alt text recently, and today I want to share with you how you can create alt text in Pinterest as well as on Instagram. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into my share screen. That way you can see. All right, Maggie, good morning. You can see my screen. So let's go ahead and share screen. All right. And I want to show you my Pinterest page first. Now, if you come to my Pinterest page, as you know, Pinterest is one of my favorite social media slash search engine platform. For every post that you put, every pin that you put, oh, Joanna, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and look at some of the pins that I have. Some of my pins are actually Chinese pins. So one question I certainly have is, are there any screen reader? No, by the way, screen reader is an app that people with vision impairment uses to listen to the audio that is in the alt text. See, when you type alt text in your post, it's in the form of a text, but the screen reader will convert the alt text into audio. So the people that have vision impairment can actually listen to it and know what the post is about. So for example, you post a photograph on Instagram, and on the photograph, it shows a beach with a seagull flying in the sky, and it's a blue sky, and there is a pedestrian on the beach. So you need to put all of those things in words in alt text so that the people with vision impairment can listen to the audio and get visualization in their head as to what the photo is about. So if you have a post that has alt text, you can actually reach more audience. Reaching more audience is what we want, right? So when we post something on social media, our goal is to reach as big an audience as we can, right? So why wouldn't we want to use alt text? So there are basically three reasons you want to use alt text. One is to reach more people. Second is the algorithm. The search engine such as Pinterest, such as Google, and of course, Instagram is slowly becoming a search engine. So you need to pay attention to Instagram being a search engine because many of our posts will be oriented toward strengthening the SEO that we're already building on the Instagram. Okay, so the third reason you wanted to use it is because Instagram loves it when you have alt text. So if Instagram loves it, Instagram is going to promote your content more. I'm pretty sure Pinterest pins that have alt text are going to be loved by Pinterest and they're going to promote it more. So having alt text will give you that extra advantage. So let's see how we can input alt text in the Pinterest pin. All right, let's go ahead and move my screen a little bit. Okay, and let me go to my Pinterest. I got the created page and the saved page. So if I want to demonstrate to you how to input an alt text. By the way, alt spelled as A-L-T and text is just T-E-X-T. Okay. All right. Let me pick a pin where I can actually show you where the alt text is at. All right. Let's see here. You cannot, I don't think you can insert the alt text in the horizontal one, but the vertical one, certainly you can insert alt text. I like the fact that this particular pin received 3 saves already. A save is actually considered to be a repin. The more repins you have, the higher your Pinterest pin is going to rank. So it's important to get as many repin as you can. All right. And we'll talk about how to improve on your repins later on. But let's see if I can show you how to insert. Now you click the pen here. This is for, okay, this particular one I can't insert the alt text. But other ones I can, okay? Let me see if I can insert the alt text or not. I can't do it with this pen. So for some pins, you can insert the alt text after the fact. Other pins, you're just gonna have to insert the alt text as you insert the pin. Let me see if I can find a pin where I can actually insert an alt text and show it to you so you know what it actually looks like. Hold on a second. I think it might be easier if I just show you how to create a pin with alt text. Okay, now I'm just gonna randomly pick a pin. Okay, that way I can show you. Now let's say if I randomly pick a pin here. So this is a pin. All right. Now all the brand new pin, as long as is the vertical one, you can actually You see right in the middle, there is an alt text button. So this is where you add the alt text. When you create a pin, you will add the title to the pin. The title is usually short, okay? And then you have a little description of your pin. You can actually, if you are lazy, sometimes we don't have time, you can actually copy and paste your description into the alt text if you really don't have much to write. But another way to include alt text is by copying and pasting the caption. If you have a video, you know how when you watch video at the bottom of the screen, you if you click CC closed caption, if that particular video has subtitle, you click it. Now, if it's your own video, whoever that is doing the captioning for you, you can ask that person to save the text for the captioning because you can actually repurpose the caption and make it into an alt text. So you can actually copy that caption right here, okay? So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So then you can just go ahead and edit your caption and make it into an alt text. That way, the people that have vision impairment, they can actually enjoy your picture. Now, of course, in the case of a video, the person that is vision impaired, I'm talking about photo without a video. It's alt text is actually meant for photo and less so on video because a person who's vision impaired, they can just turn on the video and listen to the audio in the video, so they don't really need alt text. That's why YouTube don't have alt text, and there's a good reason for that because you can actually turn the audio on or off. Okay, see, in the case of video, what they have is caption. Caption is to a hearing impaired person, a alt text is to a vision impaired person. So, they have different tools for that. Okay. All right. So this is where you insert the alt text. Okay. Now, now let's talk about uh, Instagram. All right, May. Thank you for coming. I appreciate that. Okay. So we got 11 people so far. And I believe I sent out quite a number of emails. So obviously, a lot of people are not attending today's training. Now, if you are not one of our agents, and if your broker is not giving you the kind of training that you think you need, you're certainly welcome to watch our live stream every Tuesday. Our live stream will be on Tuesdays. Uh, if we do this type of training, it'll be at 11 a.m. on Tuesday, but we also have market updates, which is which are at 9 p.m. in the evening. So starting from April, we'll have two market updates, one for Northern California and one for Southern California. They will be on uh, two separate Tuesdays. So stay tuned if you want to attend that training as well. That is a market update training. All right, let me continue with, all right, who's in town? Carrie, you're here. All right, thank you for coming. I appreciate that. Okay, now let's go to my screen again. All right, so if you're not able to see my screen, please yell out so that way I know you're not able to see my screen. Okay, let's see who's in town. Who's here? Yeah, me too. I love Pinterest a lot. Who's that? Ian. Okay, Ian. I don't know who you are, Ian, but certainly welcome to watch my live stream. Okay, I do agree with you, but there are not enough Chinese audience on Pinterest. The reason I still spend a lot of time on Pinterest is because Pinterest is a very, very important search engine. Instagram started its keyword search functionality, I think might have been November of last year. They started that. So SEO will soon become very, very important on Pinterest. Not on Pinterest, but on Instagram. So we are going to be talking about Instagram SEO at the moment, but let's go ahead and uh, go into my Instagram account. I don't have a huge follow yet, but I'm working on it. As you can imagine, I had ignored my Instagram account for years. I only started picking it up again about a month and a half ago. So when I started picking it up again, I had 306 followers. And today I have over 600, I think over 650 followers. Okay. And there's a reason for that. So I basically just double 652. So I basically double my followers using a certain strategy. It's not exactly a SEO strategy yet because you know what? Until recently, I didn't even know Instagram has its own SEO functionalities. I mean, I never thought of Instagram as a place where you can actually do search and find the thing that you wanted to find. So let's say if I want to search for a bakery, and let's see who shows up on bakery, right? You see, if you search bakery, look at her. Julie Sweet Treats Bakery. She is number one on the spot. How would you like to be number one in the search on Instagram? Well, the trick to getting to be number one is to know what Instagram algorithm is. So I'm only beginning to figure out. Okay, as I learn more, I'll share with you each week. But hashtag is certainly very important now. Let's see what she has on her profile. Okay, all right. Okay, look at her. She only has 112 follows. She doesn't even have a big follow. So why does she show up in the first spot is what I wanted to know. And I'm curious in finding out. I am sure there are a lot of bakery businesses on Instagram. So why did Julie Sweet Treats Bakery show up in the first spot search? Okay. Now, see when you have to fully optimize your profile page. Okay. Now, if I read her profile page, uh, it says level 2 food hygiene and safety for catering, certified, registered, and insured. Wow. Cakes, tray bakes, cupcakes, muffins, cheesecakes, and more. Okay. She doesn't even have a lot of hashtags. Maybe you don't need a lot of hashtags, but maybe it has to do with her posts. Okay. And I don't see a lot of interaction, but certainly she's doing something right that uh, I couldn't quite figure it out yet. But um I suppose she is very niched. She's niching down, so I think that kind of helps as well. You know, niche is actually good. Niching is good, right? Bakery. All right. Now let's see what I end up with on Realtor. I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch on Realtor. Okay, let's see who shows up on Realtor, right? All right. So this guy shows up. Okay. Realtor. All right, now this is the list of people that showed up. Okay, so this guy is, you see, he only has 145, so you don't really need a big follow to show up in the Instagram search, you know. So, and I'm pretty sure there's something that he's doing right that I'm not doing because I don't show up as a realtor. So as you can see, uh, it is a search engine, or maybe slowly becoming a search engine. Okay. Now, if I put Fremont Realtor and see who shows up. Fremont Realtor. You see, it's good. They have it uh, in their Instagram name. So if you want to target a certain, but but the thing is, you can certainly put down Fremont Realtor. Now that is an internal account, right? So this guy he puts Fremont Realtor. So I mean he will show up. So if you try Pleasanton Realtor, for example, and see who shows up. I would suggest you try out alt text on Pleasanton Realtor. Now this one, you see, the hashtag is very, very important. But the thing is, this one you got the hashtag shows up, but then there are a lot of posts on the hashtag, 1,652 posts, which doesn't help very well, right? So if I click this, it's all about all the posts related to Pleasanton Realtor. So that's a hashtag for Pleasanton Realtor. Okay. See, for Fremont, we don't really need any the individual Instagram profile actually shows up, and I think if you do this SEO right, you have a chance because I look at some of the people that actually shows up in searches. They don't even have a lot of followers. You don't need a lot of followers. But certainly you want to hashtag properly. In that way, let's try homes for sale Sacramento and see who shows up. Okay. You see, this guy shows up, right? So as you can see, it is to some extent, it has some search capability. So certainly this guy here, he only has 419, okay, which is by any standard not killing it on Instagram. Okay, so everybody has a chance. Now look at the way he sets up his profile. Your title really matters. You say Sacramento homes for sale, and look what I search. I search homes for sale Sacramento, right? So you can actually target certain keywords to drive traffic to your Instagram page. So Sacramento homes for sale. So this one's pretty good. And it says, I believe ownership leads to a wealthier family and financial life. Let's work. Okay. And then I say text or click for new homes, right? And link below, you can actually insert whatever link you want to insert in your profile too. Okay. And certainly, if you see some of the posts here, I'm pretty sure he has pretty much all of his posts. He would have hashtags, I would imagine. Okay. Uh, if I were him, I would add hashtag in homes for sale in Sacramento. I did have homes for sale, but then I don't have that in my profile. Okay. So I should do something about that. I should do something about my profile. I should insert some keywords in the keywords that I want to target in my profile. See, let's try this one. Diamond Bar Realtor, and see who shows up. Okay, I saw somebody already. Who's that? Mr. Diamond Bar Realtor. Okay, all right, let's see who he is. This guy is. And this guy has 0 followers, 4 following, and yet he shows up in the top spot. So as you can see, you don't need a lot of followers. So if you do everything right, and of course, this keyword search thing is pretty new in Instagram. They only started this thing in November of 2020. So if you target your keyword right, I think the smaller the niche, the higher you're going to show up because you have less competition. All right. Well, let's go ahead and try uh, San Diego Realtor and see who shows up. So this lady shows up, right? Gabriela San Diego Realtor. I think she must be specializing in San Diego. So she has about 633 followers. Okay, and why did she show up? Look at the title. It has San Diego Realtor on it. So if you want to target a certain market, you just need to have the right keyword. And here, San Diego Realtor and then Realtor. So the word Realtor actually shows up twice, once up here and once down here. And then San Diego twice, once up here and once down here. And I'm pretty sure in many of her posts, she would definitely have the word Realtor or San Diego somewhere in her post. So as you can see, there's still plenty of opportunity for new agents who want to do well in Instagram. Okay, I only have about 652 followers, um, so you don't really need a lot of followers. Okay, as long as you target this thing right. All right, Maria, good morning. Thank you for joining. Okay. What else? Oh, okay. I want to show you about Instagram alt text. Okay. Where you can add the alt text on Instagram. Let's see if I can show it to you here. Let's see. Let me go back to my homepage. If I want to post something, by the way, I'm doing pretty well in my Instagram, and there are very good reasons on that. I post regularly. Well, in fact, I have my VA post, 5 posts a day. It's pretty regular. She does a very good job. I told you I put 5 different posts. I don't want to be posting real estate all the time because not everybody likes to see real estate posts all the time. So if you post real estate all the time, you're not gonna grow your follower as quickly. I mean, every now and then people have a need for real estate services, but most people don't need real estate services every day. So why are we posting real estate every day? We should be posting different things. Um, okay, so it's important we do that. All right, and I can only do that from my, or maybe if I go to Tailwind, in Tailwind I can't really show it to you, but let's see here if I post something. Uh, if I have my iPhone, I'll show it to you. It's easier because iPhone, I know how to do it, but I rarely post things onto Instagram itself, so I don't. Now, just so you know where the alt text is at. So when you add a post, now alt text doesn't work on video. for obvious reason, because video, you don't need alt text. But alt text only work for posts like this type, okay? This type of post. I wish I can find one of my posts. That way I can show you. This is one of my posts. This was actually put in by Mariella. I gave her specific instructions on what to post in my Instagram. So she does it for me every day. I don't know where she got this from. We have access to stock photos. So uh, one of the types of posts that we will make in Instagram daily is quote. So we'll actually post quote, and then you can see a lot of hashtag. You want to put in as many hashtag as is relevant to your photo. This one, she only has about 7 or 8. You can actually post. You can actually insert as many as 30 hashtags to your photo. The more hashtag you have, especially the relevant ones, the more it's going to help you with the SEO. Maybe one of these days, I can imagine, maybe one of these days, your Instagram post might show up on Google search. See, right now, Pinterest pins are already showing up on Google search. So maybe if you put the right hashtag, your Instagram post may just very well show up on Google search. Wouldn't that be nice? That would be really, really awesome, wouldn't it? Okay. And let's see here. Yeah, I can't do it from here. You have to do it when you are adding something. Okay. When you have a new post, that is when you can just remember to go to advanced setting. So when you're posting something new on Instagram, there are several steps. So first step is you click the plus sign. After you click the plus sign, and then it's going to ask you if you want to add a filter. So normally I don't add filter, so I just click next. So when you click next, if you look toward the bottom, you will see advanced setting. So when you see advanced setting, click on advanced setting and then insert your alt text there. Remember, alt text are favored by many search engines, and I'm pretty sure it's a new favorite in Instagram. So just remember to insert your alt text. Now, when you insert alt text, make sure you insert the keywords you want to target. Now, let's say, for example, your keyword is Castro Valley Realtor. And somewhere in there, uh, they don't have to be together. It could be one sentence. You may have Castro Valley. Well, depending on what you're posting, though, it has to be relevant, though. You can find some relevancy. For example, it's a photo of yourself at a beach, right? You want to share it in Instagram. It might say something like in the alt text, okay, my name is Maria Slikova. Okay, I'm a Castro Valley realtor. Today, I decided to go to the beach and relax. The sky is blue. I can see and hear the ocean wave, right? I'm standing right on top of the rocks. Hopefully, I don't fall. So these are things you can write in the alt text. Now, the example that I just gave you would have the keywords already in there. So people that actually use alt text to actually, people who are vision impaired, they can actually imagine what the photo is about. But that's just one of the benefits. Other benefit is, yeah, you should do that, Maria. I think you should. If you know how to do it, maybe one of these days when I search Castro Valley Realtor, you will show up in the top spot. Okay. All right. So just some thought on how to improve on your SEO. Now let's go ahead and talk about the third topic today. Now, third topic we're going to be talking about is uh, residential lease after sale. Let me go to my zip form. Oh, before I go to my zip form, I actually want to play for you a video, and this is a video on clear cooperation policy. Uh, one thing I want to share with you is that it is extremely important to participate in the training, because if we don't keep abreast of all the new development and all new things, we're going to be behind, and we're going to be in violation left and right, and we'll be paying fines. By attending training, you can actually learn something new and maybe avoid paying fines. So this is one area where I think it's easy to fall into, which is the clear cooperation policy. Uh, I myself didn't know exactly what it was. Okay, I'm pretty embarrassed by that. So let's go ahead and move on and look at this video. That way we can all learn about clear cooperation policy.
Of pocket listings and other tactics to keep properties. In November 2019, the NAR Board of Directors adopted the Clear Cooperation Policy in response to concerns about the use of pocket listings and other tactics to keep properties off the MLS to the disadvantage of homebuyers and sellers. Effective January 1, 2020, with local implementation required by May 1, 2020, this policy requires listing brokers to submit property listings to the MLS for cooperation within 1 business day of publicly marketing a property. This reinforces the consumer benefits of cooperation and ensures that MLSs are an efficient and transparent marketplace that is pro-competitive and pro-consumer. In recent years, there has been a significant growth in the use of pocket listings and misuse of various limited exposure marketing tactics. Brokers resorted to such methods because of historically low inventory and high demand in popular areas. An issue with pocket listings is that some brokers used it on the basis that their client needed privacy, but then publicly marketed the property on their brokerage website, on an exclusive network, or in social media to a limited scope of people. Also, pocket listings generally have been perceived as benefiting the listing firm more than the client. In terms of coming soon, some brokers misused it by advertising a property as becoming available for showing or sale at a later date, but then allowed a chosen few, sometimes their own clients, to see the property and be given an opportunity to purchase before anyone else. These types of issues have restricted the number of choices for buyers, raised questions about fair and equal opportunity, leading to fair housing concerns, have skewed MLS data, and have resulted in breach of fiduciary duties lawsuits. The Clear Cooperation Policy is intended to address these issues and to ensure homebuyers and sellers benefit from having access to the most comprehensive property information through the MLS. It also establishes a uniform rule for all publicly marketed properties, ensuring greatest market exposure for consumers and consistent business practices, which minimizes confusion. While the deadline is May 1 for all MLSs to adopt this policy, some already have implemented it. Make sure you contact your MLS to know their timing for adoption so you can proceed accordingly. And as previously mentioned, a property listing must be submitted to the MLS for cooperation within 1 business day of public marketing. A business day means a day that is not a Saturday, Sunday, or a federal or state recognized holiday. And public marketing is any promotion or advertisement of the property to the public. Examples include promotions through yard signs, flyers, brokerage website displays including IDX and VOW, digital advertising on public-facing sites, communications with other brokerages, and on portals. Here are some other things to keep in mind regarding the policy. Is coming soon still allowed? Brokers can still advertise a property as coming soon. MLSs can define specific statuses and showing requirements for coming soon and delayed showings for properties that truly are not yet ready to be shown. What about pocket listings? Sellers may direct that their listings not be placed in the MLS, but this can only be done as an office exclusive where the promotion of the property is limited to brokers and agents in the same listing brokerage. This ensures that no public marketing takes place, which protects the client's need for privacy. Does a property listing have to be included in an MLS's IDX display? Sellers can choose to have their property listing kept out of all internet display. This is helpful if your client is concerned about privacy. Brokers can work with their clients to determine an appropriate marketing plan, taking into account the client's needs and full disclosure of the benefits to market exposure. Is it possible to opt out of the policy's obligations? The policy does not include any opt-out. Before entering into an agency agreement, a broker should explain to your client how you can serve their best interests in accordance with your state law, the Code of Ethics, and MLS submission rules. This should include an explanation of the many benefits of listing on the MLS for cooperation. How does this policy help consumers? The Clear Cooperation Policy aims to ensure that consumers have equal access to all available properties through a transparent process which promotes fair housing. And it bolsters cooperation and advances the positive and pro-competitive impacts that cooperation fosters for consumers. Thank you for watching this episode of Window to the Law.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the application. So the application is this. I think it's only limited to 1 to 4 units of residential listing. So if a seller, for privacy reason, does not want to put the property on the MLS, but still hope that you give it enough exposure to sell it, the only option that the seller has is for you to just market it within the company. You can't even have any kind of advertisement at all. You can't have yard sign, can't have flyer, uh, can't send out postcards, none of those things. You cannot even put it on the company website because that's open to the public. So they will allow a certain amount of marketing, but that's within the company only, between the in-house. So it's strictly in-house. So uh, if you want to call it a pocket listing, yes, you can call it pocket listing, but you're not supposed to market it to the outside agents. It's strictly between uh, your broker and you. So, but how are you going to market this? So I suppose you can share with your prospective buyers without doing any kind of advertisement campaign at all. Okay, so and so the rule is after the listing is signed, if the seller instructed you not to put it on the MLS, then you can't put it on the MLS. However, if the seller still wants exposure, you need to explain to the seller that uh, within if the seller does want to put yard sign or some kind of marketing to the public, then unfortunately you're going to have to put it on the MLS within 1 business days of after uh, exposing it to the public. Okay, so yeah, I didn't know about this rule. As you can know, as you can see, I did not educate myself very well. So I need to change all of that. And I hope you educate yourself, okay, by participating. Uh, I mean, my trainings are really intended to benefit you. You know, an agent has to learn to manage their time accordingly. When it's time for training, you train. When it's time to work, you work. And I only require your attendance for about an hour a week. That's not a lot to ask, is there? And why so many people are still not attending? Well, things are going to have to change. Okay, it depends on what kind of agents I want. If I want agents that will do what it takes to maintain their professional standards, I'm going to need to recruit agents that will spend the time to attend trainings. If they are not willing to do that, then perhaps they're not the agents I'm looking for. Just having production alone does not satisfy me. I have let go, I have terminated agents who's got 20 to 30 transactions a year. But if you ask her something about real estate, there's a risk that she doesn't know. What kind of agent is that? Okay, and because of that, I'm going to make it a demand that you attend my trainings. And the only way you're going to let me know you attend my trainings is to let me know. Okay, Maria has a question. Let's see what her question is. Can I put as coming soon in MLS after I start marketing it? If you start marketing it to the public, you can certainly put it as coming soon in the MLS. You just have to comply with the local MLS rules. Different MLS define coming soon differently. Okay, so you make sure you find out what the rules are, and then you decide how you're going to do your coming soon. Okay, certainly you can do that if the MLS allow. These days, many MLS allows coming soon. Okay, let's see who has a question. Sarah Rambeck, how can we protect our buyers? That's what I'm gonna talk about next. Okay, so I'm done with clear cooperation. So now it's time to dive into and finish what I did not finish last week. I wasn't feeling well last week toward the middle of the presentation on residential lease after sale, so I apologize for that. Uh, I had to end quickly. So let's go ahead and go to share screen mode again. That way we can uh, talk about what is it that you need to do. To be honest with you, I'm truly disappointed. The attendance is so low today. What's going on? I did send out the emails, didn't I? Maybe I should send out twice. I only sent it out once. But there's really no excuse for skipping the meeting, the training. So maybe going forward, I'm going to require every agent that want to skip training to let me know ahead of time why they're skipping training. If they have a good reason, then they'll be excused. Otherwise, they are not excused. Okay. All right, we just finished the video, so let's go ahead and try something else. Not able to close this thing. All right, close that. Okay, let me go to Google Drive again. Let's try zip forms. To answer your question, Maria, I don't intend to remind people in line because most people don't read the line messages anyway. I think if you want to remind them of something, it's always better to send them emails anyway. I think that going through line, it's a poor way to inform people about important notices. Let's see who we have here. So we got, oh, okay, great. Thank you, Feng Jiao, for attending. Well, it's important that I know you're here. Okay. No worries, no worries, as long as I know you're here. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and go over a couple of forms that I think you're going to need for seller rent back. All right. Okay, maybe it's too loud. All right, I'm just going to use any file because I'm not going to save the form. Okay. There are two forms you're going to need if you represent the buyer in the seller rent back situation. The two forms are, first one I introduced last week, residential lease after sale. That's the one, right? Okay, good. And then the second form you're going to need is, it's called the MIMO form, move in, move out. I'll explain why you need move in, move out. Okay. All right. I showed you the residential lease after sale form. I'll get into it in more detail in a minute. But the second form that you should actually have both parties, both the seller and the buyer sign, it's called the move in, move out inspection, because it's a rent back situation. And the seller will become the tenant, buyer will become the landlord. Because of that, and earlier Joanna was asking, how do I protect my buyer? Well, this is one of the forms you're going to use to protect your buyer, because you need to make sure that the condition of the property before and after, before close of escrow and after close of escrow and at the on the delivery date would remain unchanged. And in order to do that, you need something to document the condition of the property. A move in, move out inspection form will be a good form to use. So in any kind of purchase transaction, the buyer has the right to do a final walkthrough before the escrow closes. Usually that is scheduled about 5 business days. Well, actually in the contract, I think it might say something about 3 business days. I can't remember. Whatever the days are, when you do your final walkthrough, you might as well have both the buyer and the seller be present. That way, both parties can witness the same thing about the condition of the property. So your buyer will fill out the verification of property condition form. So both the buyer and the seller can sign the verification of property condition form as well as the move-in, move-out inspection. So rent back will just require one additional form, or actually 2 additional forms, the residential lease after sale, and then the move-in, move-out inspection. So basically, this is what the form looks like. And it says move-in, NSO. I think S stands for satisfactory. That's right. N stands for new. O stands for other. Okay. Now, here you have one that says deposit reduction, but that is on the move out. See, even in a seller rent back situation, it's good to have the seller put up some deposit, the security deposit, in case they damage the property. Remember, after escrow closes, seller is no longer the owner. So they have a responsibility to protect the conditions of the property, because now the property belongs to somebody else. So if they damage the property, they have to pay for it. That's what the purpose of the security deposit is. Okay, so you will go through the entire property, okay, and then just go ahead and check the appropriate boxes. But that's just for the move in. So you just for the move in, even though technically the seller is not moving in, they just remain there. But you treat them as tenants moving in because after close of escrow they become tenants. So you have them fill out the move-in portion, and then both parties sign. Is it tenants and landlords, or the tenant, the seller would sign here, and then the landlord will sign in the landlord's places. So you go ahead and complete the form, sign it. Everybody keeps a copy, and then when it's time to take possession, you pull out the same form again, and then you fill out the move out portion, and then you compare the move in and the move out to see what, if anything, has changed since close of escrow and the delivery of the property. Okay, it's pretty long form, it's pretty complete, so you fill this out. Okay, yeah, that's a long form, as you can see. It's very detailed, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and finish up the residential lease after sale form that I did not finish. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. Residential sales, lease after sale. All right, this is the form. You will use the residential lease after sale form if the rent back is less than 30 days. I mean, it's more than 30 days. Uh, I should say if the rent back is 30 days or longer, you will use the residential lease after sale. Okay, and let's go ahead and complete the form. So you have the buyer's name, the seller's name. Of course, you will want to put in the date. Okay, and then here you put in the property address, and if you can identify the occupants, put down all the occupants' names. Okay, right here in B. And then in number 2, you just go ahead and put in the commence date. The commence date is usually the close of escrow date. Okay, whatever the close of escrow date is. And usually possession is delivered at 5 p.m. So most likely you'll say 5 p.m. But you put in whatever time you actually take possession. And then you go to number 3. Number 3 is where you insert the monthly rent amount. Okay, whatever the amount is on 3A. And then on 3B, rent is payable in advance. Now, see, in a rent back situation, it's different from when you are leasing a property to a tenant. In the rent back situation, the lease usually starts, the lease may start on a date that is other than the first. So if the escrow closes on the 15th, then you want to put down here that the lease in number, it says that rent is payable in advance on the first or 15th day. Now this one, in this case, this you will put down the 15 if it's the 15, unless it's coincidental that it falls on the first. Okay, all right. And then it says here, it says if commencement date falls on the day other than the day rent is payable under 3B and tenant has paid 1 full month's rent in advance of commencement date, the rent for the second calendar month shall be prorated based on a 30-day period. So, depending on whether you have a the lease back is for 30 days or 60 days where you have a multiple of 30 days, then you don't have to worry about proration because let's say for example if the rent back is for 60 days and the escrow closes on the 15th, you let's see who has a question. Yeah, you okay, May, you received one email. Of course you received one email because I didn't remember to send out the second email, but we have trainings every Tuesday. You should mark it on your calendar anyway. Why do you need me to remind you? And plus, it will be sent to your email. All you got to do is to search for my email and you'll be able to see the link and you'll be able to click and attend today's meeting. There is no excuse that you're not getting the second email. I sent out a second email just as a favor. That way, in case you forget, but hey, you professional, you're supposed to mark this on your calendar. Okay. I mean, just imagine if this were a listing presentation, do you need the client to remind you that you have a listing presentation appointment with your client? No, because you would have marked it on your calendar. All right. Okay, now let's talk about now payment. Here's my I don't agree with that. I think even if you don't have one, there's way to find out what it is. All you got to do is to post a message in line and everybody will respond and give you the link. It's really no excuse. It's a question of how motivated you are to attend today's training. Okay, I don't accept that as a good excuse. Okay, uh, especially if it's a regular meeting. Okay, now payment most of the time this is done through the escrow. So on 3D, most of the time you will check through escrow. Now, if I check through escrow here, then uh, here's the thing. There are different ways to do this thing. On the seller rent back, as a buyer's agent, wouldn't it be better if you can negotiate with the seller to have the seller pay the rent for the entire rent back period in advance so you don't have to chase after the seller for the rent? After all, we're only talking about 1 to 2 months of rent back. Now, one thing you got to pay attention to is if your buyer has a loan, many loan programs will not allow any kind of rent back beyond 30 days. And if it's beyond 30 days, uh, your loan agent will probably tell you that you cannot make this be part of the escrow file. So how do you handle that? You have to handle it this way. You're going to have to do an addendum, but that's just between the parties. It's not part of the escrow file. Okay. All right. Now you have the amount collected through escrow. If the amount, not all the amount is collected through escrow, then you need to address. See, it will be nice if you can have the entire rent amount and the security deposit all collected through escrow. After all, the seller has no excuse that there is no money to pay the buyer because the seller just got a big sum of money from the buyer. So why go through the trouble of addressing, what sort of payment you will need from the seller? But if you can't avoid that, but my experience is the way in dealing with the seller's agent, 99% they would be willing to let the buyer have the entire amount. from escrow. Okay, so usually in that case, I just check through escrow on D. Okay, that way I don't even have to address where to send the payment. Otherwise, you're going to have to put it in the contract, in the lease contract, where you want the seller to send the payment to the buyer and what are the hours. Certainly, if you are in that situation, you have to fill in the blank. Okay, I don't recommend you get yourself into that situation. And now the law in California is that if the tenant's check bounces a couple of times, I think it's two or more times, the landlord can insist that the tenant pays by cashier check. Okay, so you can see the standard contract in there, you know, but I can't imagine you will ever need to use it. I think it's just put in there out of abundance of precaution. All right. Now on number 4, security deposit. You know, you can negotiate whatever amount you want to negotiate. Most people just use a 1 month's rent as security deposit, but that's totally up to the seller and the buyer. Okay. Uh, except that it cannot be more than 2 months if it's not furnished. But it doesn't make sense to ask the seller to pay so much in security deposit for such a short lease, right? Okay. And so most of the time, you don't even have to address whether it's paid by personal check, money order, or cashier check, because most of the time it's going to be paid through escrow. Okay. And let's skip to number 5, escrow payment. Check all that apply. Usually, if I were to negotiate the rent back, entire thing, rent for the entire lease, will be this box, the third box that is checked. So you don't have to worry about. So basically, yeah, you have security deposit and the rent for the amount. You skip the first month's rent because I don't like to collect rent from the seller. Just get everything upfront, the security deposit and the rent for the entire period. Now, the only exception you will make is if somehow the seller wants to have the option of moving out earlier. Now, some seller wants to negotiate with you. Let's say they may want to negotiate a 2 months rent back, but then they want to add a condition. What about on the 45th day, they found a place? They may want to negotiate with you. I don't want to pay you 60 days if after 40 days I'm moving out because I want to save that 15 days of rent back. Can that be negotiated? Of course, that can be negotiated, especially in this market. Between the buyer and the seller, who has the advantage? The seller certainly has the advantage. So if they want to have that condition in there, you don't have a choice. You have to say yes to it. Okay? All right. Late charge, you can certainly put in whatever late charge you want in here, but the way I do it, it will never involve a late charge. The reason is because everything is collected up front. There's no such thing as late charge. So you have one less paragraph to worry about. Okay. But if you are in a situation where not all the rent is paid up front, then you want to think about late charge? You can. But if the guy is only going to be there for about 2 months, why bother with late charge? Forget it. Okay. That's why I said collect everything up front. You don't have to worry about all of this provision. Number 7, parking. So you specify, whether parking is included or not. Storage, you specify whether storage is included or not. Now, in most cases, you can just use the default provision. You don't have to change anything to number 7 and 8. Certainly, it's a house where the seller occupies. He's already occupied certain parking spaces, and he's already using certain areas for storage. So none of this really matters at the moment. But there could be exception. If there is exception, then you have to specify it. Otherwise, just use the default. Utilities, you need to be clear because if you want tenant to pay for garbage, make sure you put in here, okay? Or gardener, make sure you put in here, okay? Because make sure you make it clear here, all right? Anything, so basically this is where you allocate between the landlord and the tenant, the utilities, okay? All right, so just make sure you address that here. Don't leave it out. Condition of premises, so this one here, you can just use the default. Unless the property has some damage or some things that are significant, you can actually just skip the paragraph 10. Now, if it has something worth mentioning, mention it in paragraph 10, okay? All right. Maintenance, use, and reporting. So these are provisions that actually helps the buyer, that protects the buyer. So now the seller is being treated as a tenant. So as a landlord, wouldn't you want your tenant to inform you if there's a leak in the house or there's mold or there are any kind of problems? Certainly you will want to. That's what this provision is for. Okay. So earlier Joanna was asking, well, how do I protect? Well, this is one of the protective provision. And then BCDs are options. So you should check landlord or tenant. So usually I make the seller, actually, I'll make the seller water the garden, landscaping, they're living there. So make him do that, okay? And then I also make the seller maintain the garden, landscaping, trees, and shrubs. So I will check tenant and tenant. And then anything else that you need the seller to maintain, for example, the water softener. If you buy a house with a water softener, anything that is expensive that is worth mentioning, you should go ahead and include it in D, okay? And then the personal property belonging to seller and the following items are included in the premises without warranty and landlord will not maintain. So if there are any furniture that is included, such as sofa in the purchase, this particular provision says that the seller will not maintain it, okay, or repair it because they're being sold to the buyer without any kind of warranties, right? Now, if there are exceptions, then you have to insert the exception here, okay? All right, we're moving right along. Neighborhood. Now, if the seller has pets, then you need to mention it. It says here, no animal or pet shall be kept. Now, this is number 13. Okay, well, let's see what Maria's question is. Is there any document or form saying escrow to release the deposit after rent back is ended? So if I understand you correctly, you're asking the deposit that is agreed on. Let's say, for example, the deposit amount is $5,000. So should the deposit be held in escrow and then released later on? Or should the deposit be paid to the buyer or as a credit to the buyer? See, usually in a residential lease after sale situation, you got the buyer who's actually providing the purchase fund. So instead of having the buyer provide the funds and then have the escrow pay the buyer, is there a way for the calculation to be made where we just collect less money from the buyer? For example, if the rent amount is 5,000 and the rent period is 60 days, and then the security deposit is 1 month. So we're talking about 15,000. If I represent the buyer, I think it makes a lot of sense for the buyer to receive credit for 15,000. That way the escrow doesn't have to deal with that money after escrow closes. Why do you want to give the escrow extra work? I think it makes sense to just kind of have the buyer be credited this amount, right? So I would say, I think if it can be done more efficiently, let's do it more efficiently, right? So to answer your question, Maria, yeah, certainly both parties can agree to have, normally in a normal landlord-tenant situation, usually the landlord get the security deposit before the landlord hands the key to the tenant. So why should this be different? So the buyer is supposed to get the deposit before the escrow closes. Why make the escrow hold on to the security deposit? And then if the buyer, whether or not the seller breaches the lease, you still have to take the extra step or do the extra paperwork to deal with the security deposit with the escrow. Escrow certainly don't like the extra work, nor do you as an agent need the extra work. Why would it be a concern? You already have a contract between the buyer and the seller. So I don't think you need to wait until after the close of escrow. I think it can be done through the escrow and be dealt with before the escrow closes. Okay, now let's see who else has a question. All right, Joanna has a question. If the seller wants 29 days, seller rent back only, do we need to do the residential sale lease agreement? Then it will be a different form. The name of the form is SIP. That is the seller in possession zip form, which we'll cover next time. Today we don't have time to do SIP, okay? All right, today we only have time to do a residential lease after sale. Okay, now this number 13 is talking about no animal or pet shall be kept. So the standard, the default provision is no pets allowed. But be careful if you have no pets allowed, because the seller is a tenant. You need to understand that if seller is handicapped or has disability and need to have the pets, you need to allow the pets anyway. Moreover, as a practical matter, you can't expect the seller to temporarily relocate their pets during the rent back period. So as a practical matter, you're going to have to allow pets anyway, okay, if they have pets. Or else a seller is not going to agree to sell you the property, right? Okay. All right, let's move on. Condominium plan unit development. Okay, this is standard. Okay, if it's a condo, go ahead and check this box. And then go ahead and insert the HOA name here, okay? And then the rest is standard provision. Alteration, repairs, that's pretty standard. That's basically telling the seller, don't make any alteration or repairs without the buyer's consent. Number 17 is actually standard. So here is where you put number of keys to the premises. Even though the seller lives there, you probably should indicate the number of keys, okay? Now keys to mailbox, same thing. How many keys you expect to get from the seller? Go ahead and put those in here. Keys to common areas, certainly you want the seller to deliver the keys to you, all of these keys. Remote control, usually there are 2, but put in however many remote control you may have. So I'm going to skip the rest because they are standard provision. There's really not much point in me going through it. Now 18C is talking about just in case the buyer is an investor and the buyer wants to interview prospective tenants while the seller is still living there, this can be done. In California, the law allows the buyer slash landlord to show the property while the seller slash tenant is still there. So this one would allow the agent, if you check this box, it would allow the agent to install the lockbox. Okay, so by agreement is better than having to argue or fight about it later on. And then 23, make sure you check the lab-based paint if the property was built in 1978. Pest control usually, uh, if your buyer intends to hire pest control while the tenant's still living there, you need to check this box. Okay. You can check number 1 or number 2, probably not both, because sometimes if you don't have any pest control contract, then you should check number 2, because number 2 is talking about tenant responsible for pest control. So to answer your question, Joanna, this is one of the provisions you can check to protect your tenant. Methamphetamine contamination, most of the time it doesn't apply anyway. If it does, go and check that box. Okay. 23, we're talking about tenant's obligations upon vacating the premises. So the landlord is no different from any other tenant. So you have some provision in here. So because the tenant, the buyer has already collected the security deposit, the seller's forwarding address after they move out needs to be inserted here. That way, the buyer/landlord knows where to send the security deposit back to the tenant, the seller. Okay. All right, let's move on to number 27, insurance. It's always a good idea to make sure that they maintain liability insurance to protect the landlord. And you can put in whatever amount, maybe $1 million. So this is talking about what? This is talking about liability or personal property. If it's personal property, it doesn't have to be so much. But if it's a liability, perhaps it needs $1 million. And then number 30, you insert the addresses to serve legal notice. You put in the tenant landlord, which is the buyer's address to receive notices from the seller. The tenant, which is the seller's address, usually is just use the property address. Okay. Let's move on to number 30, agency confirmation. That one you know, you don't need me to teach you how to do that. Other terms and conditions, if you have any other, go ahead and insert in number 38. Bed bug is a mandatory disclosure, so that's why it's automatically checked for you. Make sure you remember to insert this disclosure here. Translator, in case you have Chinese speaking, so you insert on in number 39. Check on this box. Okay. The rest you know how to fill out. Bed bug disclosure, you know how to fill out. That's a standard. Tenant flood disclosure, that's a standard disclosure. In fact, it's a mandatory. Rent cap and just cause addendum, that's also mandatory. Fill that out. Okay, so that's it. Okay, this is the entire package that you would do for a situation where the rent back is 30 days or longer. It is really no different than signing a lease with the tenant. The only difference is that the name of the form is different. It's not called residential lease anymore. It's called residential lease after sale. All right, that concludes my training for today. So it took me an hour and a half, but I think it was a productive training. And thank you all for attending. I hope I answered your question. If I did not, please let me know. See you next week.